Even though my childhood years weren't gifted with me having a large variety of anime to watch on TV, the ones that I had, I really enjoyed. There were lots of robot shows, such as like Voltron, for example, but my teenage years differed greatly as I got into much more mature and violent anime, such as Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust, which I talked about last time, and today's anime, Blood the Last Vampire. You can tell there's a bit of a pattern here. I kind of have a thing for vampires, especially when they're a bit more mature, and also lots of bloodshed back then as well, such as with Samurai X Trust and Betrayal. I'm sure by now that everyone watching this video is at least somewhat familiar with the franchise of Blood, as there have been several anime series and anime movies alike, but the one we're talking about today is the original anime concept. There was the manga out for this too, but that came out 1 year after this movie did. The story follows Saya, who appears to be a teenage girl, but I'm just gonna come out and say it. Saya is a vampire. The title of this movie says it on its own. Blood the Last Vampire, and even if you haven't seen the movie, I'm sure you're just gonna guess that Saya is a vampire. I wish they wouldn't have called this movie Blood the Last Vampire. Why not just call it Blood? Or something else. I'm sure they could have come up with another name other than this, but it's supposed to be a big reveal at the end, and I wish they wouldn't have done this. They kind of come out with it and tell you at the end that she's a vampire, but we all knew far before that she was, even though she wasn't struggling with drinking blood or anything like that. We all knew. The writing is on the wall, or in this case, the front of the DVD cover. But Saya is an extremely friendly and upbeat young girl.
Hey, are you Japanese?
Or old Pumpkinhead will get you.
Konnichiwa,
Leave me alone.
weirdo.
Okay, scratch that. Saya is actually a grumpy vampire girl, and she's here to kick some major corruptor in ass, because apparently in this world, which is set directly before the events of the Vietnam War, we have monsters which eat and drink human blood, but they're not vampires, by the way. They eat and drink human blood, and they're disguised as humans. They can transform into these monsters. Some of them have big wings, and they all have big giant teeth with extremely hard skin, and they kind of heal instantly. So Saya here is sniffing out people that might be the monster, and she just runs up to them and attacks them. She doesn't even wait for them to attack her. She just runs in the room and just starts swinging her sword, and blood's just shooting all over the place. And it's funny to see some of the other characters' reactions here, because they don't know what's going on, because it's this big secret that these monsters even exist.
あなた
Looking back on the movie's introduction, I appreciated how vague it was in terms of exposing those monsters to us, because we have Saya in several cases just running up and attacking people who look to us like ordinary humans, and there's a little bit of talk about them actually being monsters and eating people, and needing for her to actually go and kill them, because there's not that many left, and they're a big threat to humanity, because they eat people.
In any case, it's more likely a kid wants to get your attention, ma'am.
It isn't until the second half of the story that we get to see this big open brawl between Saya and the monsters, because her sword breaks early on and she has to improvise in getting new tools, but of course the tools aren't going to be as sharp or as powerful as the Japanese katana, because I saw online that someone cut a tank in half with one, and Saya is just running around with these other weapons. She's actually struggling against them, and you get the feeling that maybe she could lose, because she is kind of getting her ass kicked for a bit. As you can tell from the clips, Blood the Last Vampire features some beautiful artwork here. There's actually a lot of CG used, and I have to commend them on how well they implement this into the movie, because it kind of just blends in there, and considering that this is from the year 2000, and we all know how bad CG looked back then, I think they did a really good job of doing this. There were mostly backgrounds that they used it on, and then they used it on other times, such as trains, but that was like mostly all CG in that scene there in the beginning. So Yeah, they did a great job with that, and as far as the voice acting goes, I watched this with the English dub, which they did a pretty good job of that, and I really appreciated how in the dub, they have characters that are speaking English and they have characters that are speaking Japanese. So even if you're watching the dub of this, you're still going to be reading some subtitles there because different people understand different and speak different languages. My only criticism that I have about this movie is the exact same thing that I say about the Vampire Hunter D movies, which is that the main character is actually really dry and boring. Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust actually fixed that with adding a whole lot of other interesting characters in, but this movie really didn't have time for that as it was so short, but I felt that it was still something that I enjoyed. Overall, I found Blood the Last Vampire to be an enjoyable experience and one that I've rewatched so many times over the years, so I definitely recommend watching this one. It's a good anime to watch over Halloween, and also if you're curious about some of the other anime in the Blood franchise, I might at some point rewatch Blood Plus and make a review of that, but I know I'm probably never going to watch Blood C, so my good friend Black Critic Guy made a review of that, which I'm going to be linking somewhere around here, or you can also find it in the description section of this video as well. Turns out it's not all that great, but you can still check it out and see more about that if you like. Anyways, let me know your thoughts about Blood the Last Vampire in the comments section below. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the review, be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for next time. I'll see you guys later.